I got warehouses full of records. All very accurate, Mr. Cahill, and all very useful. Very much like newspapers for wrapping fish in.
I must warn you again.
Well, now you just do that, Mr. Cahill.
Mr. McKenna, can I see you for a minute?
Barney, come on down. I want you to meet the massive intellects from me brokerage house.
It's a personal matter, John Patrick. I'll wait for you.
I warn you, you're getting in over your head.
Not my head, sir. The futures market for Ambet Petroleum is fine and dandy.
There's loose talk in the exchange about your company.
Is there now? Well, I just love loose talk, Mr. Cahill. Do you remember last year when the rumor started that outside money, syndicate money was backing me? What happened? Everybody bought in. All your competitors wanted to get a piece of Ambet Petroleum's wheeling and dealing. And the fat commissions.
Well, what happens if your West African deals fall through?
Well, why should they, sir?
Political upheaval.
Mr. Cahill, one government or another is always going to need the likes of me. I take the long view.
You never got so much commission from one company in your life, and you know it. And here you are with your midnight inspection. Harry, show these gentlemen to me private office where they can audit and inspect to your heart's content, gentlemen. I want to go and see what Barney Lynch wants of me. I'll join you in a moment. Please. Oh, and if you'd like to measure the oil in the tanks, Harry will give you a dipstick.
What's your pleasure, Barney Lynch?
You're late with the money. I'm waiting for the 10,000.
$10,000. Well, you're a greedy man, Barney.
That greed is nothing compared to yours. I'm just not as lucky.
Lucky, is it? Am I your guardian?
No, but I'm yours.
Is that a threat?
It's a fact that you're forgetting.
That the blazes with you, Barney.
They both belong in peat bogs.
You're a bloody fool, Barney Lynch. I'd gladly lend you the cash, but I will not be robbed by you or anybody else.
You'll give me the cash.
Sprague, come here quick. Look at this. He pushed the man. He knocked him off.
Judd, for the defense.
You did what?
I was praying. Then I got down to poor Barney as fast as I could.
Was he dead?
No, not yet. He tried to say something to me, but I couldn't make it out, poor man.
Did Sprague and Cahill hear him speak?
No, they came running up too late.
But not too late to see you push him over.
They saw nothing of the kind, sir.
The district attorney is asking an indictment for murder on some solid evidence.
I did not push Barney Lynch. He tripped over his own clumsy feet, I tell you. I reached for him. I swear it. I was on me knees.
Praying?
Yes, he was my friend.
For how long?
20 years at least.
You fought,
Yes,
and not for the first time.
all friends fight.
Two reputable eyewitnesses.
Two reputable eyewitnesses can see one accident 6 different ways.
Why were you fighting?
I told you he wanted money.
For a gambling debt?
I'm wondering why you didn't give it to him. You're known to be a very generous man to your friends, Mr. McKenna.
And I'm wondering whether you're the right man for me, Mr. Judd.
Do you feel you can serve on the jury with an open mind?
Oh, yes, certainly.
You have no opinion of the kind of a man generally regarded as a wheeler-dealer?
Well, only in my opinion, a wheeler dealer is the kind of man who goes out after what he wants, no matter what he has to do to get it.
Will Your Honor excuse this prospective juror for cause?
If the court please, I'd like to examine this gentleman first. Mr. Mossberg, are you personally acquainted with the defendant, John Patrick McKenna?
No, sir.
With me?
No.
Mr. Judd?
All I know, that is blather, pure blather. The district attorney knows he's got no case against me. We didn't even oppose bail.
You still haven't told me everything about you and Barney Lynch.
Well, now, 20 years is a little hard to remember all at once.
You paid him an annual salary of $15,000. What did he do for it?
He was my assistant plant
Yeah, I know what you called him officially. I also know he came to work 1 or 2 days a week.
Oh, John Patrick's very loyal, Mr. Judd. They've been friends since high school.
I don't think your husband built Ambin Petroleum on sentiment.
No, I didn't. But you're a big man yourself. You come up the hard way. You know how it is with old friends.
I know how it can be with old friends.
Yeah.
Was he blackmailing you?
Well, now, that's a terrible thing to say about a dead man.
Oh, it's blasphemous.
If Your Honor, please, I would like to consult my associate as to whether we should use one of our peremptory challenges.
No, Mr. Caldwell. Let it go. We'll accept the prosecution's juror.
He's not my juror, Mr. Judd.
No? Doesn't your office maintain a graded list of jurors in this county?
Your Honor, I must object to this.
Graded by their previous records of voting convictions, extra points for the death penalty?
Counsel will approach the bench.
Gentlemen, will it take forever to select this jury?
No, Your Honor, because I don't have the nerve to hold out for a jury completely unprejudiced by Mr. Judd's theatrics.
I know. You lost your nerve when you asked for murder 2 instead of murder 1.
Well, maybe I should have asked for murder 1. If you knew your client's motive, you'd advise him to plead guilty.
Why is he antagonizing them?
No, he knows what he's doing.
Well, I certainly hope so.
Oysters Rockefeller, of course. For an entree, oignon de veau, cassoulet d'oie toulousaine. See anything you like?
Show me where it says steak and potatoes.
Steak and potatoes? Ben, you don't come to New Orleans to eat like a Texas farmhand.
Pick a gourmet dish like grenouille provençale, tripe à la mode de Caen.
What's the treat?
Tripe.
Okay, I'll do as the Romans do. Waiter?
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
What does Mr. J.P. McKenna order when he comes in here?
Corned beef and cabbage.
John Patrick is kind of a farm boy at heart.
Oh, sure he is. He raises money.
Good stable crop.
The only difference is that a farmer stops when he's made enough, but a wheeler-dealer never.
He can't stop. He's in a race. Poor man sets out to win very big, he better run very fast. The faster he runs, the harder it is to keep sight of where he's going or who it is he's got to beat. No finish line in this kind of race. Well, he's really running against himself.
And if anyone interferes, just knock him out of the way.
You mean Lynch? No, I don't think so. McKenna's not the type to commit murder for money.
Clint, are you sure you know him that well?
Oh, I've sat in on deals with McKenna on the other side of the table. He'll try to outsmart you or outbluff you. And if he can't, he'll try to buy you out. You know, his approach to making money is to spend money. A man like that doesn't commit murder for it.
The DA claims that he's come up with some motive. Now, if it's not money, then what? Clint, is there anything besides money that really matters to a man like McKenna?
And now, gentlemen, may I serve you the specialty of the house, a Ramos gin fizz?
Well, like I said, when in Rome. All right, I'll have one.
2 Ramos gin fizz, thank you.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yes?
I'll have straight bourbon.
Oh, but the specialty of the house.
I don't
is the
want a mint
Ramos.
julep either, just straight bourbon.
Yes.
Now, Clint, you don't come to a place like New Orleans and drink like a Texas farmhand.
You know, if I'd let him bring me one of those tourist specials, it would have been your fault.
My fault.
Yes, I've been trying to think of the answer to your question. What is there besides money that really matters to John Patrick McKenna?
Gloria Morton?
Who is she?
Why do you ask?
I found her name on the list of prosecution witnesses. She was the only one I couldn't account for.
Gloria Morton is a lawyer, but she doesn't practice. She's younger than I am. She's good looking.
How good looking?
It's a business arrangement with John Patrick, Mr. Judd. Why did you ask me to come to your hotel?
Mrs. McKenna, the district attorney has drawn a bead on some reason why your husband might have murdered Barney Lynch. John Patrick, with his close mouth, won't tell me what it is. And I imagine that you know.
Well, it isn't Gloria Morton, if that's what you mean. She's not his mistress.
What is she?
Sort of a social hostess, especially in his trips abroad.
Why didn't you go abroad with your husband?
Not my idea of traveling. I mean, every month, planes, hotels, tired businessmen.
You'd rather stay at home?
Yes. Take care of the house, look after our children, and give my husband a home to enjoy. Is that so strange to you? You don't have a home, do you, Mr. Judd?
Not that kind.
John Patrick works very hard. He appreciates a life different from ambient petroleum. No, Mr. Judd. He doesn't run and play.
John Patrick doesn't run and play, so no motive there for the district attorney. But Barney Lynch was blackmailing your husband about something, wasn't he?
What makes you think I know?
Leora, do I have to wait to hear it in court? Or can I hear it now in time to build a defense? John Patrick knows he didn't murder Lynch, so he doesn't take this whole thing seriously. He thinks any kind of a defense will do. Well, it won't. If the district attorney can come up with any reasonable motive to go with his witnesses, your husband is going to spend the next 20 years in prison. Anytime you're ready, Leora.
It's me.
Lynch was blackmailing your husband about you?
What I did before we were married.
What did you do?
Look at me. What do you think I did? Rob supermarkets? How do you think I got my distaste for tired businessmen from entertaining them? Have you ever been to a certain type of business party, Mr. Judd?
Are you telling me you were a party girl?
Well, that's a nice name for it. Are you surprised that a man like John Patrick would marry me? Don't be. Religion says there's more joy in heaven over one repentant sinner. Well, I don't know if I'm truly repentant. But I do know I haven't looked at another man from the moment I met John Patrick at one of those parties.
Where?
New York.
Who knows about it in New Orleans?
Only Barney Lynch. They were old friends and drinking buddies. John Patrick let it slip to Barney.
And I'll add one other person, the district attorney.
Does he know?
He must know.
Isn't it strange? John Patrick says business is like war. You have to take calculated risks. All the risks he's taken, got away with, come home safe. Now he's going to spend the best years of his life in prison. Because he married me.
Harry Reid.
Poor Harry. How could he raise his arm against me? I practically made the lad a member of my own family.
You raised your arm against yourself when you didn't tell me about the blackmail.
Now, Mr. Reed, you are the defendant, Mr. McKenna's plant manager?
I am.
Your Honor, in the prosecutor's continued eagerness to use the word defendant as many times as possible, the jury may become confused as to who the defendant is.
I think we can let Mr. Rogers handle his own syntax.
Therefore, you know what is going on within Ambent Petroleum.
Mr. McKenna runs his own business.
You're his chief lieutenant.
I take orders from Mr. McKenna.
Well, I appreciate that the defendant, Mr. McKenna, runs his business as a one-man band.
Objection.
Ambit Petroleum employs 862 workers.
Sustained. Mr. Rogers' appreciation will be disregarded.
Was Barney Lynch, the deceased, employed by the defendant, Mr. McKenna?
Yes, sir.
Well, please describe his duties at Ambent Petroleum.
Well, he was assistant yard manager.
But what did Barney Lynch, the assistant yard manager, actually do for Mr. McKenna?
Well, he helped take inventory from the tanks, and he helped supervise maintenance and deliveries.
You really do all that? The company records show that Barney Lynch customarily came to work once or twice a week.
Oh, he's a friend of John Patrick's.
Aren't you a friend of John Patrick? And yet you work a 6-day week for approximately the same salary, isn't this true?
Oh, well, somebody has to do the work.
Undoubtedly. Did John Patrick McKenna and Barney Lynch ever quarrel in your presence?
Yes.
Often?
Sometimes.
Violently?
Well, yeah, but it never lasted long.
Yes or no, Mr. Reed? Did you ever see them quarrel violently?
Well, yes.
Your witness.
Harry, have you ever fought violently with John Patrick McKenna?
He's an Irishman, isn't he?
That's all.
What are you going to ask him?
He said enough.
In fact, Ms. Lynch, and I know this is a difficult subject for you, the money your husband deposited in his several bank accounts, some $50,000 over the past 2 years, and this rather large sum of money came from the defendant, John Patrick McKenna, did it not?
Yes, from him, all of it.
Well, what did your husband do to be able to bank such a considerable sum in so short a period of time?
Well, he,
Did he keep quiet?
Barney? Never.
I mean concerning the defendant.
Well, he certainly knew something.
Well, what, if anything, did your husband tell you about this?
He told me it was best I didn't know.
Object, man.
Don't hang your head. Look the jury in the eye.
Ms. Lynch, is it your testimony that your late husband blackmailed John Patrick McKenna to the extent of $50,000?
You have to call it blackmail?
Ms. Lynch, when a man takes money to keep quiet about another man, what would you call it?
All right, then. Barney... God rest his soul. He was blackmailing John Patrick.
Defense may cross-examine.
Ms. Lynch, how long, if at all, have you known John Patrick McKenna?
He was an old friend of my husband's. I've known him for 20 years.
And during this period of time, have you personally ever known John Patrick to do anything terribly wrong or shameful?
No. But
It's all right. Go ahead.
he's a man, isn't he? Men do things the saints know what.
Mrs. Lynch, I put it to you that although the saints may know some guilty secret of John Patrick's, you don't know. You don't know for a fact that your husband knew. Is that true or false?
True.
For all you know, Barney might have printed that $50,000 himself.
That money is real.
Of course it's real, but I put it to you, Mrs. Lynch, that without knowing what John Patrick ever did to make himself a target for blackmail, you can't know that that money really came from him. True or false?
I guess that's true.
Thank you. No further questions.
May it please the court, the prosecution calls Mrs. Gloria Morton. Now, Ms. Morton, have you heard the previous testimony to the effect that the deceased was subjecting the defendant to blackmail?
I have.
And to the effect that the actual reason for the blackmail is unknown?
Yes.
Well, can you give the court any information on this matter?
Yes.
What, if any, is your relationship to the defendant?
We have a business association.
Do you know Mrs. Leora McKenna?
Socially?
When did you first meet her?
About 8 years ago. Her name then was Leora Flynn.
And where'd you meet her?
New York City, a hotel. At a commodity traders convention.
Just don't say you'll kill her.
In what capacity did you attend this convention?
Well, primarily to have prospective purchasers and sellers brought together to their mutual benefit.
Is there a short phrase for this kind of work?
Business broker.
And do you know in what capacity Mrs. Leora McKenna, that is, Leora Flynn, attended the convention?
Well, sometimes companies want their customers entertained in a certain way, and so they hire girls to entertain them.
And is there a short phrase for that kind of work?
Call girl.
Liar! Blasphemous liar!
Objection, Your Honor. The testimony is hearsay.
I will establish competence.
Go ahead, Mr. Rogers.
Ms. Morton, how do you know that Leora Flynn was a call girl?
I handled the matter for one of the companies that hired her.
Mr. Judd, your objection is overruled.
Clint, you've got to shake that testimony.
Defense may cross-examine.
Any idea how?
Mrs. Morton, how much money did you earn from your business association with John Patrick McKenna?
Approximately $25,000 a year.
$25,000. And in spite of this handsome income, did you volunteer your sensational testimony to the district attorney?
No, I did not.
Well, how did he arrange for it?
Objection! Mr. Judd has no prerogative to investigate the district attorney's office.
On the contrary, the jury has every right to know how this reluctant witness was brought to the stand. Was it by threats? Was it by promises? Was it by illegal methods such as wiretapping?
That's enough, Mr. Judd. The objection is overruled. The witness will answer the question.
I was called to the district attorney's office. Mr. Rogers told me that he knew what Mrs. McKenna had been, and he knew that I knew.
Did he tell you how he managed to find out so much?
Objection!
Your Honor, I am trying to establish whether anyone else knew of this alleged situation and therefore could have made use of it against the defendant.
I will allow the question.
Yes, the district attorney told me how he found out.
Well, don't stop there, Mrs. Morton. Tell the jury how.
Through an anonymous phone call.
Did you see the face on the man?
Which man?
Clinton Judd, Esquire, that man. Leora, did you tell him about the days when you were Leora Flynn?
Yes. Why not? He's your lawyer, isn't he?
My lawyer. My lawyer. What if it turns out, Leora, that he's the one who told the district attorney?
Mr. Judd wouldn't do such a thing.
Oh, wouldn't he now? Who knows what kind of deals a man makes to become as rich as he is? You don't make that kind of money by being an angel.
I don't care if he's a devil with horns. Why would he tell the district attorney?
A deal, darling. One hand washes the other.
Stop it.
Oh, I can hear him now. Throw McKenna to the wolves on the next 3 clients and Mr. Judd goes scot-free.
Oh, stop it. Can't you hear yourself ranting and raving? Have you turned into such a liar you can't believe anyone else can possibly be honest?
Well, now, how do you know that he didn't tell the district attorney, darling?
Because I did. I made that phone call, John Patrick. You told me when we were married you could take this kind of trouble if it ever came out.
I can. I can. But why you strip yourself in public? They'd stone you in the streets, Leora.
Well, not in this day and age.
Why? Why did you do it? Why?
The district attorney was looking for a reason, Barney was blackmailing you. So I gave him one. I wanted him to think the blackmail came from what I was. So we wouldn't find out it really came from what you are.
What am I, darling?
You're a crook, John Patrick. A swindler and a cheat.
You used to have a better opinion of me.
Yes. I used to think you were more than the smartest man in the world. You were the best.
From the best to the worst, the same man.
But you're not the same man. The worst of it is, you like yourself this way. I don't. John Patrick, I can't live this way anymore.
I see. I guess maybe we better do something about it. I didn't invite you to join us, McKenna.
I know you didn't. I know you. Sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down.
What do you want, McKenna?
I haven't been convicted yet. You can still call me Mr. McKenna.
Of course.
I understand that you got a court order to appoint yourself to run the company.
Well, that's an interim arrangement. Don't you think that considering your preoccupation with your present difficulties, it's the only way to safeguard the company and those doing business with it?
No. The foreign and futures market situations require 100% attention.
My 50's better than your 100. I understand you're both going to be witnesses against me this afternoon.
Well, that's regrettable. Very regrettable.
But it is our duty to say what we saw.
You're both blind men. Look, Mr. Cahill, Mr. Sprague, can't we reason together? We're all businessmen. And you're the only two witnesses against me.
Now, Mr. Cahill, will you please take this pointer and trace their progress on the catwalk?
Surely. McKenna was on this side of the catwalk. Then he passed Lynch, and then they struggled, and he pushed him.
And was this the place at which they engaged in a shoving match?
Yes. Lynch fell heavily to the catwalk. He seemed stunned.
Did Mr. McKenna make any effort to help Barney Lynch?
None.
What did Mr. McKenna do?
He leaned down and pushed Barney Lynch off the catwalk.
Thank you, Mr. Cahill. Will you take your seat again, please? How would you describe your relationship with Mr. McKenna since that time?
Oh, correct. Dealings in essential business matters between my brokerage house and Ambent Petroleum.
Have there been any exceptions to this correct business relationship?
Any exceptions?
Yes, one exception.
Will you detail it for the court, please?
Mr. Sprague and I were having lunch today at the Pioneer Room. Partway through our meal, Mr. McKenna joined us without being invited.
Did he have some purpose in doing this?
Yes. He tried to persuade us to change our testimony here this afternoon.
Mr. Judd, look the jury in the eye.
Bribery. You just handed Rogers your head.
I was just sounding him out like you investigate any business deal, and I made no commitment.
I thought we had your confidence. Whether or not you were always honest, I thought at least you were smart.
Laddie, I was trying to help out.
Well, go help out the doctor at your next operation.
Ben, get up a list of the best criminal attorneys available for Mr. McKenna here.
Oh, aye.
I'm going back to Houston.
Oh, aye.
I'm withdrawing from your case, John Patrick.
They'll convict me.
Maybe.
They'll say I'm guilty of murder.
How can I help you when you help yourself so brilliantly?
If you leave here now, Judge, you're condemning an innocent man.
Cahill says you killed Lynch, and Cahill makes a very persuasive witness. And Sprague.
Didn't kill Barney Lynch, and you said you believe that.
You're better off with new counsel.
No, sir.
Look, John Patrick, I have spent the last 6 hours tonight listening to you evade my questions. Now, what kind of a witness would you make in your own defense? Cahill may be mistaken, but you're lying.
Don't use words like that.
Lying! Aye, wide and handsome, wheeler-dealer style.
Look, I beseech you, do not abandon me now. Yes, I grant you, I pulled shenanigans in the past. But I am not guilty of murder.
All right, John Patrick. One last time. While was Lynch blackmailing you? Wasn't because of Leora, was it?
No. It was not because of Leora.
Then why? Take your time, John Patrick. We've got 2 hours till daybreak.
Judd, can you imagine a man losing all this overnight? That could never happen in your business.
Oh, yes. I could lose my clients forever.
Why, the chicken-hearted, two-faced, thin-blooded aristocrat put his own padlock on my office door.
He does have a court order appointing him interim president.
Well, to the law reaches a limbo with him and his court order. That doesn't go into effect until 9:30 a.m., and it is now 6:30 a.m., bucko.
Mr. McKenna, are you still trying to be your own lawyer?
Let him try, Ben. Particularly since he happens to be right.
Keep your private records in better shape than the books you show.
Well, you know, none of this has ever been a total secret. I got 6 people working for me who know the truth, and they never inform. They're a loyal lot. And I'm loyal to them.
What a family you have, John Patrick.
Ah, you don't think much of it, then. Well, we do pretty good against the big companies, and what one of them could stand an investigation?
They're not charged with murder.
Barney Lynch was a greedy man, a foolish, greedy man. There was enough for all in due time. Well, that should do it. You know, if you do happen to find that the company's a little overextended in its commitments, I don't see how it's going to help me case.
It may be a question of just what kind of shape Ambient Petroleum is in.
I can keep it going.
That may be the trouble. Get the right experts to make sense out of all this. You know, boil it down to one page.
How long do we have?
Well, I'll stall for 2 days. Any more would either put us in contempt of court or convince the jury that we have no defense.
That's no job for 2 days.
Let's go, John Patrick. No sleep and no surrender.
You know, Judd, when a man builds up a business like this down through the years, it's worth fighting for. And you know, not one bit of it was done for myself. It's all done for Leora. Granted, you know what she was now, but did you know that she was the finest and the handsomest one of them all? And that's something to say. There were rich men standing in line to give her everything she wanted, but I was the one that took her home with me. Yes, sir, all of this was done to give Leora everything she deserves.
Oh, hey, John Patrick. Those tanks mostly empty.
No. Why, almost a third of them is full.
It's been a long time, Mr. Judd, since the patience of this court has been tried to this extent.
That's not my intention, Your Honor.
It is perfectly permissible to call witnesses as to the good character and community standing of a defendant, and testimony as to his many philanthropic works and other good deeds on earth. But is it my understanding that after 2 full days of character witnesses on behalf of Mr. McKenna, you propose to call 25 more of them?
If you haven't got a case, Mr. Judd, why don't you admit it?
Mr. Rogers, are you seriously planning to run for governor?
Perhaps counsel for the defense will now proceed in a forthright manner, in a forward direction.
If it please the court, I recall Mrs. Gloria Morton.
Look confident. Smile. Like me.
Mrs. Morton, you advise Mr. McKenna in his business operations?
Yes.
You accompany him on business trips overseas?
Yes.
You also advise other businessmen?
A few.
Do you know Mr. Richard Cahill, president of Hague Brokerage Company?
I also advise him.
Did you not, in fact, introduce Mr. McKenna of Ambient Petroleum and Mr. Cahill of Hague Brokerage?
I did.
You must be privy to a great many business secrets, Mrs.
Objection. Sustained.
Mrs. Morton, you're a lawyer.
I was trained in the law, but I don't practice.
Well, if you did practice law, would you consider it a violation of your professional ethics to describe some of the less honest wheelings and dealings of the businessmen you advise, such as Mr. McKenna? And not only Mr. McKenna, but also Mr. Cahill?
Yes, but...
Your Honor, I must object.
It's only a hypothetical question.
Objection overruled.
But a very real answer, which stands recorded as yes. That's all, Mr. Morton. The defense calls Mrs. Leora McKenna. Then is it your testimony, Mrs. McKenna, that you anonymously gave the district attorney information about your past in order to mislead him?
Yes.
To mislead him concerning the actual reason for the blackmail?
Yes.
So that he wouldn't investigate the books and records of Ambient Petroleum for the real reason?
Yes.
Do you, know very much about your husband's business?
Well, I didn't at first. After I heard certain conversations, I began asking questions.
Business questions of a technical nature? Or moral questions having to do with right and wrong?
There is such a thing as right and wrong, isn't there? Even in business.
Were these moral questions you started asking connected in any way with the fact that you stopped going along with your husband on business trips?
Yes. They got in the way, and I couldn't hold them back, so I stayed home.
Are you saying you think your husband conducts his business wrongfully?
Mr. Judd, are you asking me to testify against my husband?
I'm asking you to trust me, Leora, and to tell the truth. Do you, or do you not, know of anything morally wrong about your husband's business?
He says everybody does it. He says you've got to do it to stay alive.
Do what?
That's enough! You're fired. You're fired, Judd. You're a defamer and a destroyer. You're through. So I appeal to the court. Can a man's wife be forced to testify against him?
Nobody's forcing me.
Well, then get down off there, Leora.
I will not get down.
Mr. McKenna, I would advise you as to your rights. You have the privilege of withholding your wife's testimony if you wish to do so.
You mean I have nothing to say about it?
That's exactly what I mean, Mrs. McKenna. The privilege rests with the defendant, not with you.
Did you hear the judge, Dad? Did you hear him? Now get down off there. Come on.
I do, John Patrick. You'll never see me again.
Well, Mr. McKenna? Mr. McKenna, do you understand that if you permit your wife to continue with her testimony, that you are waiving your privilege? I will take your answer to be yes. Mr. McKenna, do you wish to replace your attorney? I will take your answer to be no. You may proceed, Mr. Judd.
Leora, what is it about the conduct of your husband's business that disturbs you?
He keeps false books, dummy records, and he issues forged receipts.
Thank you, Leora. You may step down. Your Honor, the defense now calls the defendant. You find it easy to borrow as much as $600,000 in one day when you, shall we say, miscalculate on the market?
Very easy.
Why is it so easy for you to raise this vast sum, so hard for some people to borrow $500?
Do you want the real reason?
That's the one.
It's a question of interest rates.
You pay more interest to bankers and brokers?
I do, sir.
But why do they trust you?
Security. Say I have $45 million worth of oil in my tanks. Well, on the strength of issuing storage receipts to brokerage houses and banks, I could raise $45 million if I had to.
That's an extreme statement, isn't it?
It's not easy, but I could do it.
And you've been doing just that for a period of years.
I have, sir.
How do you do it, John Patrick? How do you do it?
Well,
let's try to find out. Isn't it a fact that although you're supposed to have $45 million worth of oil in your tanks right now, that you have, at the present moment, less than $15 million worth?
Well, it's not necessary to have it all physically on hand.
Not even when you've issued storage receipts for it? Not even when you've borrowed money on it? Money you've spent speculating, buying up future orders?
On paper, that...
Oh, paper. Lovely paper. Paper is the important ingredient in your business world, John Patrick. Not the amount of oil in your storage tanks, but the paper which says it's there, even when it's not. And this paper is passed from person to person, and everyone who touches it makes a profit on it.
Business is done that way.
But isn't it a fact that your paper is in the form of forged receipts, phony statements, faked inventories, kited checks? A paper empire, John Patrick. What are the actual assets of your company?
Approximately $122 million.
And what are the debits and receipts outstanding? Isn't it a fact that your liabilities total $152 million?
Does it say that there?
Certified by independent accountants.
Well, does it also say there that when the market recovers and the African orders are confirmed...
There's a $30 million difference against you.
You can't be concerned about that in this business. If you do, you're paralyzed. You got to keep going and take the long view.
On borrowed time, on borrowed money.
If you don't bet on tomorrow, you're dead, sir.
And is the firm of Haig and Company, of which Mr. Cahill is president, are they betting on tomorrow with you?
Up to their necks.
So, in effect, they are covering $12 million of your $30 million deficit.
They're good for it?
Ah, good. Good, Mr. Cahill. Horatio at the bridge. The little Dutch boy at the dike. In other words, Mr. Cahill is holding the bag for the $12 million.
Only if the bottom drops out of the market or there's a...
Or there's a... What, John Patrick? Huh? Lack of confidence? Because there are still storage receipts uncovered by anybody, and nobody knows where the money will ever come from.
What are you doing to me?
Doing to you, John Patrick? Why, I'm going to show that in your business world, a demand of $10,000 made to you by Barney Lynch would hardly cause you to kill him. But a threatened loss of $12 million would definitely cause a man to perjure himself. If not, to commit actual murder. Mr. Cahill, is it true that 6 months ago your company, with you as its principal agent, held only $1.5 million worth of ambient petroleum storage receipts?
You have the figures.
Yes or no, please.
Yes.
And today it's 12 million.
We do that sort of thing with other companies, too.
Companies whose liabilities exceed their proven assets?
Yes, we allow a certain margin.
30 million?
Of course not.
12 million?
No.
Except in this case.
This is a situation we're in the process of rectifying.
In plain English, a mess you're trying to get yourself out of.
Those are your words.
Just how you're trying to get yourself out of it, Mr. Cahill?
Well, the first step is to get in accountants to make a complete and accurate audit.
No. Wasn't there a previous step? I'm referring to the court order appointing you interim president of Ambit Petroleum.
Yes, we did that.
And didn't you take even one earlier step? I'm referring to the morning in John Patrick McKenna's office when you saw him go to talk with Barney Lynch.
I don't follow you.
Didn't you see Lynch and McKenna scuffling with each other?
Yes.
So you knew there was some trouble between them.
Obviously.
Did you know that Lynch was blackmailing McKenna because of the tangled affairs of Ambit Petroleum?
No, I did not.
You thought it was simply personal, isn't that right? Didn't you hear Lynch say to McKenna, quote, "It's personal, John Patrick"?
I don't recall what I might have thought.
Do you recall what you thought when Barney Lynch fell to his death? Wasn't it simply that this was a golden opportunity for you, Mr. Cahill? A chance to get John Patrick McKenna out of the way by having him arrested, and then to get yourself appointed interim president of his company?
No.
And then to put your own padlock on his door, and to bring your own people in to juggle his books? The purpose being to prove that the $12 million bag was being held by some person or persons other than yourself?
That's not true. That's not true.
Isn't it, Mr. Cahill? What was the first step you took to get yourself out of the mess? Wasn't it to accuse John Patrick McKenna of murdering Barney Lynch by pushing him off the catwalk, when in fact you never saw any such thing take place?
I will not answer the question. I will not answer the question on the grounds of
self-incrimination. That's all, Mr. Cahill. You may step down. I now call Roy Sprague to the stand. Mr. Sprague, I will ask you just one question. But first, I want you to understand this. A man may avoid the charge of perjury by telling the truth before it's too late. Now, Mr. Sprague, did you see John Patrick McKenna push Barney Lynch to his death? I repeat, did you see John Patrick McKenna push Barney Lynch to his death?
no.
No. You're a happy man, aren't you? No, I'm not a happy man. My lawyers are happy men. Take a picture of them.
How do you feel about the verdict, Mr. McKenna?
Very happy.
Sure, she's happy because I can't go around anymore saying I'm building a glittering empire all for her.
It was a big fat lie anyway. I did it all for myself.
He happens to like money.
Boys, would you please? There's nothing sacred to you. Please. Thank you. See you later, huh?
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm down to nothing again, darling. And the vultures are waiting outside there for me. The bill collectors and the process servers, they're going to pick the flesh off me bull.
They'll leave enough for me.
You know, it's amazing. What am I ever going to do to be worthy of such a beautiful and foolish woman?
Just go and say thank you to Mr. Judd. For both of us.
Thank him, I wouldn't shake hands with the cold-blooded hangman.
But I do have to say something to him. I'll be right back.
Judd! Yep, I'll be back on top soon. I guess you know that.
I wouldn't put it past you.
Well, do you want to wait for your usual outrageous fee, or will you settle for what I can pay you now?
I'll let you pay me now, John Patrick.
I thought you would. Made out a check here for $27,000, last cent I have in the world. Take it and stop calling me names.
You really want to take the guy's last dollar?
What makes you think this check is any good?